Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It's the Prairie Banana here. We're going to be talking about PTGC and UFO over on PulseChain. Two index assets that can pay you passive income as long as PulseChain exists. I'm kind of getting my little studio set up here. What we do over here is we do a spaces twice a week, Monday night tonight and Saturday. And we stream it on YouTube. I don't know of anybody doing it like this. Let me know if you know of anybody that's streaming a Twitter space on YouTube. I haven't seen one yet. There must be somebody doing it. But I kind of like it that we're doing it. And okay, just had a little false alarm. We're gonna make sure. Check the time. We got 30 seconds. Okay, we already got 11 people in here. Okay. Guys, is it like strange to be so excited and bullish and optimistic when the chart's as red as my microphone? It's like, am I going crazy? Am I the only one that feels a little crazy? That's just... Yeah, I was thinking about it earlier today. Like I feel like I'm like bipolar or something like that. Like I should not be so excited, but I am. Let me see if I can get this pulled up. You mean Zen? I'm going to tell you what he is. He is on time every single. He's never late. I'm the one that's late, and I don't like being late. But oftentimes, well, I have more moving parts over here. And sometimes it just won't go in. I can't get into the space. Harry Williams, you're buying more UFO tonight. Woo! Good job, man. Dude, it's so inexpensive right now. UFO and PTGC, but especially UFO. So what we need to do, I want to check the ratio. How come I can't get into this space? Like I'm asking you guys. I got to check my messages. I don't think there's anything there. Let me do this real quick. Woo, the pressure. You guys can't see how pressured I am right now. Maybe. I know what I'll do. Just bear with me, guys. Yeah, altcoin season's running a little late. Somebody needs to go tell it. Give me a second, guys. I can kind of see if he's live or not. I don't think he's live. Ooh, now he is. Okay, good. Okay, good. Join the space. I accept to speak, even though I'm not qualified. Good evening.
What's up, Banana? How are you?
I'm doing good, man. I was just telling the audience on YouTube, I feel like I'm bipolar. Like the chart is as red as my microphone, but my enthusiasm is through the roof. Can there be anything? It's just like more, doesn't make sense.
Yeah. But that's good that, we feel confident about the product that's in front of us. I think in the discussion today, it's really a good talking point of just, seeing these tweets that Richard's putting out, talking about, just crypto kind of moving in a direction that's not what crypto was created for. People giving up custody of their assets and, wanting to earn APY, but giving up custody to do so. And it's just kind of against what crypto was made for. And then just, today we saw an example of what the issue is there, right? And then we can sit back, seeing everything kind of burning down around us, but feel pretty confident in, what we have as far as code where we're able to earn an APY, which people want their value working for them. If you have a large amount of value in a system, you want that value to be working. You want that value to be paying you. Either price appreciation is good enough usually, but price appreciation or an APY is also good as well. And it is what everyone really is looking for. Everyone wouldn't have a lot of their value in those systems, even though I know it's like loans and stuff like that. But they want to be earning value off of their value.
Yeah. And that's why PTGC and UFO exist. You can store your value over here and earn passively off of them, both of them. You can earn 3 different ways off of PTGC and 2 off of UFO.
Yeah, and most importantly, keeping the self-custody. Keeping those assets in your wallet. It's a big deal, right? Like I think I've told you the story about when I was in the process of designing UFO, and it was very, very difficult to actually make it to where when you were providing LP within the system to farm, to actually earn those PLS rewards, the easiest way to do that was, and the dev at one point was saying like, hey, this is how you have to do it, was to give up those PLP tokens to a smart contract.
Right. I remember.
And I just told the dev straight up, hey, if
Figure it out.
What we have to do, we're not doing UFO then, because I'm not putting out a protocol where we have to give up custody of our assets for the APY. We'll figure out a different way of providing this APY, or a different way of, making this happen, because having users give up their custody is just not what crypto is made for, to earn an APY. And then on top of that, it's a security risk as well. You do not want everyone's assets sitting in a pool somewhere. They're the safest in their own wallet.
Wow, what you said is pretty heavy, dude. I'm just saying, if
it's a big deal that everyone's overlooking. It's a huge deal. And if you look throughout crypto, very little like large DeFi protocols care about the self-custody.
And that's a shame. So can you unpack, do you have your head wrapped around what happened yesterday or this morning? Because I don't. I know there was some kind of exploit, but I haven't looked into it.
I don't know all the details, but I know that within that, people are giving up custody of their assets, and those assets are landing in vaults and pools, etc. And when you're putting everyone's assets in vaults and pools, there is risk there, because, for an example, imagine the PTGC staking contract. There's over, I think it's like 60 to 70% of the supply actually staked in PTGC. And imagine if that was a smart contract, where we took custody of people's funds, not a just a staking contract where you still had complete self-custody. The problem would be is then, we're 50 mil market cap. We would have like $35 million of our market cap in one pool. So if a hacker got at that value, the project would be over. Everyone's value would be wiped out. They could clean out all of our existing liquidity pools just by getting into that one smart contract.
Yes. Well, like you've said in the past, when you have all your assets in one pool like that, in one smart contract, an attacker only needs to focus on that one, and they could potentially get it,
Mm-hmm. And that's not really the biggest deal when you're a small protocol. But as you grow, it becomes a big issue. Balancer obviously became a large protocol on Ethereum. So then they become pretty much, a huge risk, because now people are seeing that value build up in those contracts, and they say, okay, well, I'm going to spend my time focusing on this. A small protocol, it's not a big deal because there's barely any value there. Hackers don't even really care to get at it. But when projects start to get large, this is what, I find super cool about PTGC being a store value system. We're still small. We're still a small asset. But as we grow and as we become the asset that we believe we can be in the future, a true store value, let's say 1 billion market cap, 2 billion, 5 billion. Well, we still will not be storing everyone's value in a smart contract, making it to where this isn't attractive for hackers to get after. Because they're just going to have to get after everyone's individual wallet, just like every other asset. You know what I mean? Which is still possible. They still do that. They do all the every which way to try to get into individuals' assets. And it's a horrible thing. But, one person's wallet getting hacked or drained isn't going to hurt the protocol.
Right. All right. You want to hear something? You want to hear something interesting that I know you will appreciate, because our goal is to reach 18,000 wallets by the end. Is it the end of the year? I should know what our goals are. I think it's the end of the year, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay.
By the end of the year.
Okay, and we're at 16,715 right now. Okay, so let me get my eyes on the data. Last month in October, we averaged 6.4 new wallets per day. That was really low, like one of the lowest. I think that's the lowest daily wallet add average on record since September 2024. It's the lowest I've recorded. You want to guess what we picked up, what the average was between Friday when I wrote this down and today?
So in the last 3 days?
Yep. The average in October was 6. Let's call it 6 wallets. It increased in the last 3 days.
What are we at now?
24 per day for the last 3 days.
Yeah, that's awesome. I think our community is working hard onboarding. That's crypto people. Some people obviously spend a lot of their time onboarding and educating within crypto. And then I think some of our community is also working really hard onboarding in real life. And if we keep this up, we're definitely going to make that goal. And the holder's goal is one thing, but what that's going to do for the price, what that's going to do for distribution is going to be the real win, right? It's just one at a time. If we're all working on one onboard a day, if that's through in real life or social media, and a lot of the time we won't come up successful, right? You got to knock on a few doors to get someone to answer. But if we're all working in that direction as a community, I think we can keep this 20 wallets every single day, and that's going to be what really sets PTGC up as different than all these other assets in crypto. All these other tokens in crypto aren't focusing on in real life onboards. They're focusing on just onboarding people within crypto. Well, people within crypto are depressed and ultimately wrecked at this point. We have to be focusing on bringing new people into this blockchain. And that's good for the blockchain, and that's really good for PTGC as well. Because these onboards in real life have other friends in real life.
Oh, do they? Yeah, they sure do, man.
Hey, Zen. Sorry to interrupt real fast. I gotta be quick.
Go ahead, man.
Do you mind? Can you send me a high quality logo photo of the new logo for me?
Yeah.
I appreciate it.
Okay. I'll do it right now.
So, it's 6.4 new wallets per day.
Real quick,
sure.
Hey, Moon King, I'm going to send it in Telegram just so you know.
Okay, appreciate it.
That's a 4X in wallets, man. From 6.4 to 24 in a day. So hopefully we continue that trend. The last time we had a daily average of 24 plus was in July. Our highest, if you guys might be curious, our highest that I have recorded was 48 in February. And yes, I think we're going back to that eventually.
That's actually nothing.
Oh, yeah.
I'm actually surprised it's that low. I always thought it would have been bigger. Is that for the month as an average, or is that just...
Yeah, for the month average.
Okay.
Daily average for 1 month.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's actually 48 times 30.
That's-
And that was during our peak.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yep.
I'm surprised it's that low.
We added 1,335 new wallets in February. And then, like, to give you some contrast, in October, it was 200. So less than half.
See, that sounds more like a run up to an all-time high.
Yeah.
You said in December it was 200, and then February at the top was 48.
Daily new wallets in February. Last February was 48. And then just last month, it was 6. Daily new wallets on average. Does that make sense?
It does, yeah.
Okay. I can give you the monthly too, if you're curious.
What was it? What was our biggest month?
It was actually January, 1,434.
That was the biggest month ever?
Well, I started recording this in September of 2024, and PTGC had already been out for 11 months.
I mean, that's okay. Yeah, it's on a downtrend at that point. We're not downtrend, but it was still recovering.
Yeah, good way to put it. I think we'll, like you said, I think we're going to be adding a lot more wallets in due time. When we go from being the gorilla in the room to King Kong in the city, and we're no longer just in a room full of people, we're in a city, and we had more eyeballs on us, we'll be adding a lot more wallets. I'm confident.
When did he die top?
Was that in December?
Month? That's why it's surprising to me, because we were kind of after everybody else.
Yeah, our
kind of kept
high,
going. That's why it's very surprising that it's just,
our all-time high, I think, was February.
Yes.
And PulseChain and PDI's all-time high was December, I'm pretty sure.
Correct. That makes zero sense. When was Teddy Bear's high?
PDI's high was the 2nd of December.
Teddy Bear?
Give me 1 second. I got to pull up the chart on the monthly. It looks like it was December. It was in December.
Question: I don't remember so far ago, but what did we do that was so different for January, February?
So why did we trend another 2 months after the market?
Yes, yeah. Oh, is it because of the? Well, no, it's still. Yeah,
it was
intrigued.
A combination of things, right? So like when everything started moving up, like the PTGC really started to turn on, and I think that really started onboarding people from PulseChain, because people are actually able to see like the machine running at higher levels. And right now it's running and it's doing its thing. But when volume's at lower levels, obviously the value generation is at lower levels. So like right now, let's say we're generating $5,000 a day. But when everything started rising, our buy and burns daily were rising. So we were able to be buying more PTGC constantly, and obviously that getting sent to the debt address. We're adding more LP, which is more buy pressure. We are rewarding people, which is buy pressure. And then on top of that, people were seeing all that happen, which was happening at larger numbers. So like instead of $5,000 a day, we're doing like $25,000, $30,000 a day. And then people are seeing also our liquidity web, I think, got up to like $35,000 or $35 million between PTGC and UFO. So all those things just coming together, like people seeing the machine actually running, was onboarding people as PulseChain was getting new users in. Because when PulseChain was going up, new users were actually coming over the bridge. And then when they're coming over the bridge, or when people were bringing value in, they're seeing the PTGC machine just rocking. And those green candles just kind of like kept going past everything else. So I think even like, when people a lot of people don't realize that most users are not up on many of their bags, especially right now. So people don't tend to like rotating out of stuff. But once they get in profits on those bags, even if the thing that they really want is even higher, they feel more comfortable rotating that over. So I think it was easier for us to onboard people into PTGC when PulseChain was, at 408.
Yeah, makes sense. I'm surprised by the 2-month delay. I could see a month, which is usually what you see in crypto, like, Ethereum, and then maybe the altcoins goes down from the large caps, the medium caps to the small caps. And then it goes, into, maybe a month later. Because it seems like we were the only ones that really topped out at that 2-month later point. That's intriguing, because if we ran 2 months with this little amount of people in PulseChain, if PulseChain actually were to move and actually like do numbers, I mean, you could see PTGC move for 3, 4, 5 months later.
Yep.
Yeah, what I've kind of noticed, even if it's not like PTGC onboarding the people to the chain, like let's say it's just like RH tickers in general or a different narrative, like once they get here, it seems like people do take interest in PTGC with a portion of their portfolio, any new person coming in, because every new person in isn't like emotional about like when they heard about PTGC, because they just heard about PulseChain completely altogether, right? They never watched it come out. They never watched, oh, I saw that at a 4 million market cap. I can't get it now. People have like this emotional process going there. And I feel like that's what's difficult sometimes about onboarding people on PulseChain for the last 2 years into PTGC at this point, because they're like, yeah, I saw that so early, like I just feel like I can't get it now. But someone that's brand new that just came over that bridge, they don't have that emotional connection with it. They just see there's a large community and mechanically it works. And, the chart obviously is going upwards in a range, not all the time, but on the monthly, it's still on an uptrend. So it is interesting when new users actually start coming to PulseChain. A very large percentage of them grab a bag of PTGC.
Yeah, I mean, and it's usually going to be the bigger players too. And there's always protocols out there whose name I won't mention, but they talk about lower liquidity and how that's bullish and blah, 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 blah. Well, any of the bigger players coming over from, to come over to PulseChain, 6 figures plus, 5 figures plus, they're going to look for liquidity too. And they're not going to look at smaller coins and be like, oh, that's a lower market cap, but I can't put my 6 figures in. No, they're going to look for something that they can ape in. They can ape in and come in and get a 5x, 10x on that, and they're going to freaking ape in with low pressure. So, like, PTGC is on the top end of that, of getting the big boys to be able to get that very massive blow-off top type deal that you look for in crypto, because we have the liquidity. And Will's come over with 6 figures, 7 figures, and how can I easily get a 5 to 10x? And we're coming positioned for that exactly. So it's just intriguing to see how long I'm. I guess I never really looked at the charts and considering of the tops. So I think if we get the pump that we want and people start aping, actually set for something pretty crazy to continue PulseChain. I feel like here would be my next question: is the lower high? I don't have my laptop on me right now because I'm taking care of kids at the same time. But is the lower high of PulseChain the top of PTGC?
Ooh. Where's the lower high?
So you'll see the top of PulseChain, and then you'll see it go down. Was it going back up during the top of our top? If I am explaining myself correctly.
The top of PulseChain being the middle of March. When describe the top because I can look it up.
The top you're saying it topped out in December.
Okay.
So what happens is it tops out.
Okay.
You'll have a candle go down, and usually you'll have like a lower high, and that starts a downtrend. So if you go from daily to maybe, go to a daily chart and go back to December to January, February.
Yeah, so I have it. Because,
okay.
I pulled up the weekly, and where it started to go back up, but then made a lower high is right in February, and it got just rejected super hard.
And that's where that was our top also. Yeah. Okay, so that's good to know.
Okay.
Because what that tells you is people are selling PulseChain and speculating on PTGC. And that's where you're seeing the price of. So all these cats saying they don't want to talk about PulseChain. This is where I get frustrated because that's a prime example, and the chart shows you that all of these people that are creating tops in PulseChain are actually aping into PTGC, and the chart actually explains that and shows that.
Busted. Those people are busted.
All those people creating the tops who have the ability to create a top in PulseChain are buying PTGC, and the chart shows that. And it's the only coin on the whole blockchain that shows that, and that's why I'm so surprised that it went for 2 months. But that explains it. Why?
Yeah.
Because they're selling their PulseChain for PTGC during that top.
That's B-Roots forensics right there.
And that's without seeing a laptop. It's just calling it for what it is.
Yeah, that was something that I found interesting because a lot of people said the opposite was going on. It doesn't show it. They say they think when PulseChain starts moving up that people in PTGC want to rotate into PulseChain. But the chart said the exact opposite. Is when people actually got into, maybe not even profit,
they started FOMOing. They started FOMOing is what happened.
They actually were willing to rotate those gains into PTGC. So people who bought dips on Pulse, or even like I know there was a lot of PEX that was sold into PTGC during that time too. So people were finally like the hex price was moving up, and they felt better because like, okay, this is now up a little bit. I will now speculate. So in the past, it's been the opposite of what a lot of people think, is when Richard's tickers actually started moving up, people are more willing to actually spend them on the asset that they've been eyeing because now they feel like they're in the green, and they're actually not even getting a better deep ratio-wise. It was even worse than taking advantage of it at these levels, because that's what a lot of people don't realize. It's all just ratio. So the dollar price doesn't really matter, but they felt better about it because they're like, okay, I'm now selling this Pulse almost at SAC price for PTGC now. You know what I mean?
Yeah, 1,000%. Sorry, I got the kids. I told them they got one piece of candy, and my boy just took the biggest Hershey Kiss bar and started eating it. And I was like, wait a second, that's too big. So turn your head for a second. The other thing is, get the largest candy bar they can possibly get.
Yeah, another thing that I find interesting is just, where we are at PulseChain right now. It has pretty much all-time low of active users plus all-time low of value even on chain. And every single time we've seen users picking up, so new wallets coming over that bridge, and then PLS going up, meaning that value is actually coming over that bridge as well with the users. This has been like the spark that always started pushing PTGC up like a significant amount of X's. So that's kind of what I'm waiting for in the next move, not waiting for like we're not doing anything in the meantime. But every single time value has started moving across that bridge and value has actually came into PLS and any of our HS tickers, these are when we've seen the significant runs on PTGC. In the past, it was like Pulse did a 4x and we did a 50x, or Pulse did a 5x and we did a 50x. I think the last one, it was like Pulse did a 3x and we did like a 6x, which wasn't that impressive, but that one got stopped really, really early. That one, Pulse, I think, barely even got to 4 zeros and a 6.
Yeah, people were more willing to pull it short than that one. You're definitely seeing it for sure. Whether it's the people in the community themselves, or people that are speculating and just not saying anything. They know about PTGC. So everything that you said, Zem, is something that you should 1000% accumulate that with the chart, because people will say, oh, you're just talking out your ass, which it sounds like it sometimes when you're saying it that way. So if you don't believe it, you back it up with the facts, the data. And when you back up with facts and data, they can't say anything. So if you show the chart and explain that what we saw in the chart, that 1000% with facts and data backs up what you're saying, and then they can't have any type of rebuttal off of that.
Yeah, what they're talking about is normally the case, right? Like when everything starts to move on chain, a lot of times people will rotate out of like the alt token. They get up profits back to the gas token, because the main reason they're even in that alt token in the first place was to get more of the gas token. And a lot of times the gas token is not like, it's ratio wise not even a better deal, but they feel like they're up because price wise everything is up, and everyone's just trying to get off the ship that they're on back to the main assets, the real store of values, and out of the speculations. And it's interesting because what I've seen so far is PTGC actually acts the opposite way. Is every time everything on chain starts moving up, because everything's bonded in liquidity for the most part, besides the really, really bad tokens, when value starts flowing in, you'll see everything kind of lifting up. But it always seems like PTGC is lifting up, a little bit more than all of the other assets. Obviously, there's always that like one that's, got a ton of steam of the week and whatever. I'm not really talking about that. But if you're looking at like all the tokens that have been out for a little bit, it does seem like the value isn't actually rotating out of PTGC. The value increase is actually rotating into PTGC, because they know it's a battle-tested, secure ship. If there's going to be something to take you to the promised land this cycle, it's the one that's been out for 2 years. It's the one that pays you APY. It's the one that's deflationary. It's the one that's got, the strong community, the one that's gotten pretty much everything you can imagine at it, and is still just sitting there at a 50 mil market cap.
It's usually about a 3x. Upside and downside. Some days will be even, some days will be average, but for the most part, what I've been seeing is like a 3x in percentage. So if PulseChain's up 6x or 6%, we're usually up 18%, give or take a percentage. And then that's what I've noticed. I mean, I don't know if you noticed that also, but it goes down. The reflection is usually about 3 times, 2.5 to 3 times the amount, just for what it is.
Yeah, I would say that is maybe on the higher ends. Definitely we've had those days where we're up 20%, and like you said, PulseChain's up 8%, and then you'll see like the other RH tickers and the other assets on chain, like in our liquidity web, up like 12, 13. Because that's like the nice thing about how a large amount of our liquidity isn't with Pulse, and it's with like Hex and PulseX, is when value starts coming over that bridge, you'll see Pulse move up like 8%, and then all of the other RH tickers will usually be up like 10, 11, 12 because of reflexivity. They're getting whatever Pulse gives it, and then whatever little bit like drips into PulseX and Hex off of that, that's their reflexivity or their X multiplier working. And then we kind of have that working because in a multiplier effect, because we aren't just in Pulse. We have that LP with Hex. We have that LP with some of the other speculative assets that in the past have moved up harder than Pulse also, via the same exact thing that we move up more, just reflexivity. But then the additional buys that we get on top of that is that, additional amount that you're even talking about. If we're having a day where value is flowing into us, we might be at 15%, you know what I mean? Where Pulse is at 8, Pulse X is at 12, we're at 15. So we're like double.
Yeah, sounds good to me. All right, y'all. I gotta get out of here. If you guys came in under me, do not leave just because I leave. Start learning. All right, y'all.
Yeah, thanks for hopping in, Moon King.
Yeah, thanks,
Yep.
man.
Yeah, and that being said, just for everyone listening, obviously if it's a bunch of sell pressure on that specific day, we can underperform even PulseChain on specific days if there is sell pressure. But what we're talking about is on average, right? Like if you're looking at the average days, usually when Pulse is up a good significant amount, Pulse X, Hex are up a little bit more. And then we've been known for being up a little bit more than that because of the additional value flowing in. And it's not just additional value from humans. There's also additional value flowing in just from the code itself, buy and burns from the DAO, or also the automatic functions within UFO and PTGC as well. In the last, I think, year, there was $2.2 million of additional buy pressure from PTGC or on PTGC from a combination of the DAO, the automatic buy and burn of PTGC, and then also the automatic buy and burn within UFO. So that's kind of a good example of like where a portion of that additional percentage comes from. It's from the mechanical features and the value generation of the system from the bots.
I like the sound of that. Bots. Sounds like something you don't even have to, you don't have to pay. You don't have to feed bots. At least these bots. In the last,
they're just doing what they're designed to do. They're designed to fix liquidity pools, and we're leveraging what they're designed to do to generate us revenue. And it's a proven system for 2 years now. And then we bring that revenue onto the buy side of our protocol. We're buying our chart, and that's what helps give us that additional percentage. PulseX works in the same way for the most part. Every single day there's transactions. I was just looking today. There's another $21,000 of buy and burn on PulseX today, and that's at, a fifth of SAC price, so that's really starting to add up. And I'm really glad that we have such a large liquidity pair with PulseX with PTGC and UFO, because I do think there will become a point where it's botting out a lot of the weak hands within PulseX, which have been obviously there. The price wouldn't be where it's at if there wasn't a lot of weak hands in that protocol. But we are buying them out, and PTGC is doing that exact same thing, just with less weak hands. We didn't have to buy out as many people that were in PulseX because there's no sacrifice.
Sure. Kay Hudson says on YouTube, buy the blood. I agree. Now's a great time. You can buy 4 times as much supply of UFO right now as you can PTGC, and that's been a trend for many months. It's been as high as like over 5 times more supply UFO versus PTGC. But now is it's a great time to buy dolphin positions or whatever position fits your fancy. But what would you say is the fundamental difference between PTGC and other cryptos? Like, what separates us apart?
Well, one thing is we're fully decentralized, right? And a lot of meme tokens are fully decentralized too, but they just have zero features. So it's not that, awesome. But a lot of like large DeFi protocols are not actually decentralized. It's actually extremely centralized. There's admin keys. They can literally blacklist wallets. That's one thing very, very unique about PTGC is it's actually a very complex contract, but it's also completely renounced. So nothing can be changed, nothing like that, which makes it a really, really good store of value because no one wants to store value in a system that can be changed all the time, or even, the situation that we kind of have with stable coins right now. People are storing value on blockchain and stable coins, and they can literally just blacklist a wallet to where none of that value is yours anymore. And that's not too awesome at all, right? Like we want to have self-custody, but we also want it to be a decentralized system to where one figure can't make the decision that it's not your money to spend anymore. So the fact that it is a DeFi protocol, but also fully decentralized, another feature that we have, I think it's millions of dollars or close to $1 million of burnt liquidity with Richard tickers. So the fact that we have a large burnt liquidity web, making it to where pretty much this asset will run and do its thing on PulseChain for as long as PulseChain exists. And PulseChain is a super robust blockchain. It's a fork of Ethereum. Vitalik talks about all the time is he's designed Ethereum to last longer than him. And if we bring up that fork, that pretty much means PulseChain will last longer than Vitalik. However long that equals, if that's 50 years, 100 years, 500 years, who really knows, how this world evolves throughout the next 500 years. But if PulseChain's around in 500 years, PTGC will be around on this blockchain, no questions asked. Decentralized automatic code on the blockchain with burnt liquidity into the blockchain. Built-in APY, that's a big one. People want their value working for them. They want to have more of something for being within the system. They want sustainable price appreciation, which is a major focus with PTGC is we have mechanisms in the protocol to get sustainable price appreciation over long periods of time. Deflation, I think that's important as well. A lot of DeFi protocols to pay out APY are actually inflationary, which in the long term does hurt the price eventually. We are constantly getting scarcer, but still able to pay out that APY. The self-custody aspect is huge. We just had that issue with Balancer. I don't know all the ins and outs, but people are giving up custody to middlemen to earn APYs, to take loans on those assets, etc. Pretty much doing all the things that crypto was created to beat have just been put into crypto now, and people are falling for all that stuff. So I do think PTGC stands out as a true cryptocurrency that has like the morals and ethics of cryptocurrency designed into them. I believe Richard builds all his products in this way too, and this is, in my opinion, the products over the long term that will succeed over a lot of like the products that do have centralized ownership or centralized things in the code to where one person can make decisions, or if it's a value generating system, that value going to one single person, you have to trust that single person is going to carry out what you want for the rest of ever. And even if that person dies, that the keys are going to be passed down to the right person, and that person carries out the right actions forever. A lot of people don't think that far into the future, but PTGC is actually set up in a way to where literally it doesn't need any individual person. It could constantly evolve and grow with or without anyone. And then obviously that happens on a blockchain that will just grow and evolve as well. So it's something that I think with the success of PulseChain, we can be very successful on our own, but I really would love to see it with the success of PulseChain because I think it could pretty much revolutionize store of value systems and peak mainstream interest if it can get in front of mainstream. And the only way it gets in front of mainstream is obviously getting in the price range or the market cap range of mainstream. And with the flick up of PulseChain, we can get there so easily. So easily. It's the product they're all looking for and wanting. It's also the product I think that could actually take down a lot of the faker systems that already exist.
Okay. I like that answer. That was thorough.
Yeah, I don't know if that was a question you had or in your chat, but that was a pretty in-depth answer for anyone listening.
Does anyone care to come up and chat?
I'm going to hop over to Richard's tweets real quick, see if he's talking about anything interesting.
Okay. I'd appreciate it if you guys would repost a video I popped up on Twitter today. I think it's important to get that video out for onboarding purposes. I think it's a decent video for introducing people to PTGC. So forward it, if you would. I'm going to put it up on YouTube tomorrow. Do the same. If you got buddies and they're not on Twitter, but they're on YouTube, send them a link to the YouTube video.
Yeah, so the main one that I see that's worth bringing up is kind of what we were just talking about. Crypto was invented to remove middleman. That's kind of like what I was just getting at is crypto was made to remove middlemen. And pretty much, I would say 95% of mainstream crypto products, if you go throughout the, let's say, 200, a large majority of them have middlemen involved with it. And that's just the reason why we shouldn't, we came to crypto or why crypto was even invented, are generating value. And that's why they're at those high market caps, is because they're actually value generating businesses and not just tokens that exist on a blockchain for no apparent reason. And that's what I think makes PTGC so unique, is that it's an actual value generating machine to where it's actually generating revenue every single day, but that revenue is being spent autonomously and it's fully decentralized with no overhead. And 100% of that revenue can constantly be put back into the product instead of paying for a lot of overhead expenses and all these other things that all these other cryptocurrencies have to worry about. That's why I do believe when we start getting up into that top 200, we will be an extreme threat to these other protocols, because we will be generating probably the same amount of revenue, if not more, than them, but we don't have any overhead to pay because we are automated and fully decentralized.
I'm excited.
We have no upkeep. It's crazy to think about, but there is nothing that ever has to be done again for the upkeep of PTGC and UFO. They're 100% complete products, and they will live on this blockchain forever. And they generated $9 million in the last year in the bottom of PulseChain. Imagine opening a company that generates $9 million a year and you didn't have one employee that worked within it. You didn't have a building. You didn't have insurances. You had none of that.
And you can fit it on a device that you can slip in your front pocket. Sort of. You know what I mean? That's crazy, dude. The only trouble I had, the only overhead kind of problem I had this morning was recycling my yield that I earned in the last week. I was having problems, so I finally gave up. I said, I'll do it next week. But that's not a PTGC issue. That was a user issue.
Hey, y'all. I was gonna ask, what is keeping Ethereum down right now? Anyone have any suggestions or ideas?
Bitcoin?
No, you mean like today or in general?
Yeah, today. I mean, 2 months ago it was at 4,800, and now we're 3,600. I'm trying to figure out.
I think today
What?
is mainly just because of the hack with Balancer. Not that $110 million would bring down Ethereum this much, but I think people are now, like, usually when this happens, people kind of freak out and they're like, oh my God, it's not safe for me to keep wealth within crypto. So they sell it down for like a day or two, and then everyone forgets it happens and the value just comes back usually.
Okay, so you think it was just a balancer hack, nothing else?
I think it struck fear in the market, but because of that balancer hack, I think is the main issue in the last day. Personally, that's what I think. Anyone else could chime in there, but that's what I think a lot of this retracement's from.
Hey, can I ask a quick question, guys?
Yeah.
So my question here is like, what is your take on PTGC's performance in a scenario where, let's just say, PulseChain does not perform well at all? So let's just say, you know, Richard doesn't come back, and let's just say, I don't know, Pulse does like a 5 to 10x from sack rate. Like, how would that play out for PTGC with that ratio? I mean,
could you say those last couple? You cut out a little bit on my end.
Oh, sorry. So I'm saying, like, let's just say Pulse does a 5 to 10x from sack rate at like that's the peak, right, of the bull market. Let's just say Pulse is a complete disaster. Richard doesn't come back, and everyone leaves Pulse. How would that affect PTGC, and what would that still give us with PTGC from like a 10x on sack rate with Pulse?
Well, like a 10x from sack over a 30x from here. If honestly, I believe if PulseChain jumps those levels, PTGC will become a monster of a protocol. In the last year, we were able to generate $9 million with PTGC and UFO, and PulseChain never even got above sack price in the last year. So let's just say we times 10 million times 30, we're at $3 million of value generation a year for the pro. That's why I feel super confident in this protocol, with or without an extremely successful PulseChain. PulseChain still has a lot of people. I think it needs to wash out over a time, but with success levels like you just said, like a 10x above sack price, our system via the data we have could be generating roughly $300 million a year. And a good portion of that goes back to buybacks and burns, rewards for our holders. So I think even at that rate, we would be extremely successful and most likely still get to top 100 of all cryptocurrencies. And and that's just yearly, right? So from then on, our goal would just be to have sustainable growth and keep pushing ourselves upwards, and hope that PulseChain kind of does the same thing with us. Maybe it's not offering those crazy X's a lot of people were looking for, but as long as it has sustainable growth and becomes a somewhat relative blockchain, I think PTGC and UFO will become some of the biggest store value assets that exist. Because, if we build on Ethereum right now, right, to just get a 30x out of Ethereum, Ethereum would be like $100,000. And I don't see Ethereum getting to $100,000 anytime soon. So even with what you just described as an unsuccessful PulseChain, this is by far like all we need to be extremely successful. There's such a leg against all other DeFi protocols on every other blockchain that exists currently.
No, absolutely. Yeah, it's what, just to see, like, we're playing it very safe, right, with the whole market, and like, even like in a bad scenario, it'd still be incredibly powerful for PTGC. And so for PTGC to be in the top 100, how many X would that be from here at today's price, approximately?
Yeah, give me a second. I'll look it up while we if we just chat for a little bit.
Sure. Thanks.
You're asking how many X's we need to do to get in the top 100?
Correct.
I have done the math on that before. I don't think it was a bucket ton either.
So now, it's not sliding over. It's pretty much 500 mil. You need to break past a 500 mil market cap to get into the top 100. So we would need roughly a 10x from here within PTGC. The scenario that we're kind of just talking about was a 30x on PulseChain. And if PulseChain pretty much does a 30x just on how LP pools work, we would automatically get that 30x just from that. Obviously, if people sold into that, we would have a little bit less exits, but within PTGC bought us up, and also some users that came into PulseChain to get that 30x bought up PTGC as well. Because that's like the big feature that a lot of people don't understand is if we get a 30x on PulseChain, that means a bunch of new users and a bunch of new value came into PulseChain, not left PulseChain. So whenever value flows into a block, a value actually usually makes its way to products built on that blockchain, not just sit in Pulse. So this is why every time we've seen PulseChain move up 4x, 5x, we've been able to do 20x, 50x, because value flows into us also. So I think, if PulseChain did a 30x, just us doing a 2x PulseChain, that's a 60x. I think even a lot more is in our cards, but that's where I kind of, it's hard to explain, but I think if PulseChain only did a 30x, PTGC can very easily be top 30 of all cryptocurrencies that exist because of our own multiplier effect on top of what the blockchain does. Top 100, we would just need a 10x from here.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing. Yeah, just to have an idea of even in a very negative situation, right? Then it's still very positive for PTGC.
Yeah. So that would be a 10x to PTGC, and we can come up with that 10x in a bunch of different ways. That can be a 5x on PulseChain and a 2x on PTGC against PulseChain. That would be a 10x for us, or like a 3.3x on PulseChain and a 3.3x of PTGC against PulseChain. There's a lot of different ways we can pull off these X's that we're trying to achieve, and that's what's nice in sub assets and sub communities on a block that's already extremely undervalued is we can have tons of growth on our own. I was talking about this the other day that if our community, if 1,000 of our community members all onboarded $5,000 right now, that would be $5 million. And $5 million into PTGC would make PTGC do a 10x against PulseChain. So if we did this 10x against PulseChain, obviously that would get us to that top 100 that we're just talking about. But then imagine PulseChain just doing that 30x you just talked about, right? Or let's use that 30x. And then PulseChain comes and does its 30x. That would be a 300x for people who took action on PTGC right now. That's a huge difference than a 30x, right? A difference of 300x to 30x. And that was just an additional $5 million of value coming in at the bottom. That equation doesn't work out if you bring the $5 million in later, because now everything's up higher and liquidity's up higher, which makes it to where you do less X's with that amount of value. That's why I've been kind of pushing our community super hard on like, hey, if there's a time to knock on the door of people, to DCA yourself, to onboard, to educate, right now is the time. Because you're not only getting users in or yourself in at what I believe is probably close to the bottom, but you're also helping the protocol more by getting them in now. And if you're a holder of PTGC, I assume you want to help the protocol more by getting them in early than helping the protocol less by getting them in after things have kind of ran up. But yeah, so that could possibly, like that scenario could be roughly a 300x. Even if PulseChain just went up to its like old all-time high, like right when it launched, that's like a 10x from here still. So if we were able to do a 10x against PulseChain here, and then PulseChain just did a measly 10x from these levels, which is like 3x SAC price, that's a 100x for PTGC holders. That would be a $5 billion market cap token. Market cap, let's say top 25 is right now.
Crazy. Well, I'm very glad that I doubled my bag yesterday.
Cool.
So oh yeah, wow, that was pretty lucky. So the 25th token in the world is pretty much exactly a 5 billion market cap. Keep in mind, if PulseChain's moving up, most likely the rest of the market's moving up. So all of these market caps of these assets will most likely be higher as well. So at that point, to be top 25, it might take us, we'd have to be like a 10 billion market cap, if that makes sense. Like we can't assume when we're rocking and rolling, the rest of the market's just flat. Most likely the rest of the market's rocking and rolling a little bit also.
Yeah, totally. Makes sense. Thank you so much for your explanation.
Oh, thanks for coming up and asking the questions.
Hey, Banana Zen, how you going?
Hey, Coon Dog. How's it going,
What's up,
Coon?
Coon?
Good. I've got a quick question for you, and maybe we can unpack this a little bit. You don't have to go too in depth. Just a quick question around the DAO and the funds. So with my no coiners onboarding, I came up in discussion last night, and I was trying to explain the DAO and the funds and how everything sort of happens without a centralized person one person making decisions. With the DAO though, with the DAO funds and how they get spent, I understand that's a voting system with the registered, investors that have enough that have registered to be able to vote for that. But the timing on when that gets used, I wasn't too sure how to answer that question. So can you just give me a quick explanation as to the timing on when the DAO uses the funds as opposed to what they're using it for?
Yeah, so right now, like the funds that are currently in the management wallet are pretty much strategically being saved for when PulseChain starts moving up again. And once PulseChain kind of starts showing that there's actual new value flowing in, very similar to what we think Richard is doing with the SAC funds. If we think he's going to use it, most likely he's going to use them when there's a sign of retail flowing into Ethereum and in mainstream crypto, and also the value of it's higher. So with that being said, that specific set what we have right now, we're strategically just waiting to use it at an opportune time. But we are going to start turning on that buy and burn again, just because we've hit that number finally of that 10 billion that we've been working towards for a couple months now. And now moving forward, we are going to just start kind of doing again as it comes in, just kind of taking off cheap dolphin positions off this floor level. If anyone wants to sell, we'll buy up. If anyone wants to buy with the DAO, that's kind of the plan moving forward.
Right. Okay.
It depends on the proposal.
Just with that, who makes the decision on who actually hits the button as to when you actually do that? Is it again a voting system as to when this happens, or?
So right now, how we've been on it, and this is just how we've done it as the group who actually participates in it, is we've been taking in the funds because it's different people are the ones actually creating the proposal, but everyone doesn't want to carry the action. So what we've been doing is just sending it to a management wallet, and the management wallet is what's carrying out the proposal. Where the decentralized aspect takes place in the system is the management wallet person wasn't as benevolent as we thought he was. Or let's say one actor creating a proposal wasn't as benevolent. Well, obviously then we just don't bring value to that person anymore, or we don't approve that user's proposals. For an example, if Banana created a proposal and said, hey, I buy and burn with this value right when I get it. And we're like, okay, yeah, we trust Banana. Let's see him carry it out. Yep. And then he doesn't carry it out at all. He goes and buys himself some new sneakers. Well, then we're not going to approve any more proposals. But from how we've been doing it, and it's not going to be permanently like this forever. It's just how we have found it works best for us. And since there hasn't been any malicious activity in 2 years and 2 months, how we've done it is a group of guys who create the proposals. Pretty much we know pretty much every wallet at this point. It's the same group of people long time now, with some people that float in and out, like, oh, I'm going to participate when it gets busy, but when it's not as busy, I'll let the other guys kind of do it, because there has been points where we get behind on proposals because we're making so much PLS, and then some other people have stepped in and kind of contributed to it. But right now, we've kind of just done it with a management wallet, and that doesn't have to be permanent. Like I said, if for some reason there was bad activity, or if plans changed, or if we wanted to go a different route in the future, we have the ability to, or more importantly, the community has the ability to, right? Anyone can make their own proposal who is at a high enough level to do so.
I see. Yeah. Okay, great. That answers the question. It's super bullish that we've got that we're getting to that stage when the chain starts ramping up, then all those funds the proposals will get passed where we're starting to spend it to buy and burns, which is great. Awesome.
Yeah, well, the kind of the plan is now that our goal was at 10 billion and we just hit it. So pretty much going to start buying and burning as it comes in now, and but we do have that 10 billion on the side for when the blockchain really starts picking up. We could then really start picking up our protocol, which obviously helps with our X multiplier. That helps with onboarding. Right now, it's still difficult to onboard. So it's my example is it's kind of like if you had a great product in the mall. Let's say you had a store that sold the best vacuum, and you wanted to advertise that product, but you're standing outside your store in that mall, and no one was in the mall at all. The mall was dead. The doors aren't even open. No one ever even comes into this mall. So who are you advertising to? Even though your product is amazing, you're actually advertising to no one. Someone's standing there for no reason. So what we're kind of strategically waiting for is we believe at some point the doors to this mall are going to open. And that's when we're going to put that guy out front saying, hey, check out how this product functions right now.
Yeah, I understand. And that's great. You got that. So you've hit that point where the DAO funds have hit the 10 billion PLS. You put that to the side. So anything over and above that, you're going to start using for buy and burns, and then as in the DAO will start using for buy and burns, and then the 10 billion PLS will be used at strategic times as the whole chain is ramping up and used for different things. But yeah, thanks for the answer.
Correct.
That's what I needed. I just I thought I had answers to everything, and then you work out 95% of the stuff, and it's always that 1% that catches you out. But anyway, yeah, that makes sense now.
Yeah. So as far as like how the DAO functions is on every single transaction, there's a 2% fee. And a lot of other assets, when they do a 2% fee, what they send it to is a wall that they say no expectations or just owner wallet or whatever. And where I saw this being a long-term flaw is the whole entire fund is always on an individual person in that individual wallet forever.
Yeah, so
it can be 20 years down the road. It's still dependent on that single person. It could be a situation where that person is just not as benevolent as you thought he was, and the whole protocol relies on that wallet. So now the protocol is just over, right?
Yeah.
To where how we set it up is it's not going to an individual person. It goes to a smart contract that any of the top 100 stakers can call on. They can request those funds out. So if there's a bad actor, you don't have to approve that user to actually get those funds. You can just vote them down and say, no, we don't trust this user with these funds. He acts not well. We've actually never had the situation of where a user has never carried out like a proper execution on the funds. We make it easy, right? We're just buying merge and LPS. It's not too difficult. But the system of only letting the top 100 people even create a proposal works great because it has a very large amount of value within the system. Like I think it costs like $100,000 or something to even get up there. So they're financially incentivized for these proposals to get carried out is like the awesome design feature of it.
Yeah, that's great. And then
but then it's not dependent on single person because there is possibilities of, and this is like the worst case scenario, but this is why I kind of say it's like you want a product to be bigger than a single person. And that's kind of what I always ask myself, is this product bigger than a single person? That's what I think is so amazing about Bitcoin is it's bigger than Satoshi. Satoshi doesn't matter, right? It's bigger than Satoshi. And if the funds are going to an individual person, it's actually not bigger than that person. That person is it. That person's the one in charge of everything. And by doing it this way, it made it to where it's bigger than anyone, right? Like hopefully this doesn't happen, but I could die tomorrow and protocol lives on, right? The community still does exactly what they've been doing for the last 2 years. I actually don't matter. Yeah. And that's what true decentralization is to me.
You definitely matter, but I know what you're saying.
What?
But yeah, I know what you're saying. It's as trustless, as benevolent, and as decentralized in terms of one person making decisions and then carrying out the actions as possible, which is fantastic.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I would think that maybe price would sell down a little bit if I got hit by a car just because people would maybe be afraid. But the point is that it would still be able to live forever on this blockchain. With or without me, the community can still step up and carry out all these features. Banana, all the people who already are participating in the DAO will still just keep participating in the DAO and keep carrying on like I never existed, pretty much. And that's what cryptocurrency was designed to be.
Yep.
Cool. Thanks for the explanation. It's great. All we need now is the markets to start turning into QE, ETH start pushing up a bit higher, and PulseChain following suit, and then just start to see this thing, ramp up into full flight. So.
Yeah, we're getting hit with everything this cycle, right? We're getting hit with that biggest liquidation event in all of crypto. And now we're getting hit with these massive packs. It's like
everything.
For like the ultimate shakeout.
For altcoins, it's been everything because we haven't really had a full-blown alt season. And the speculative plays, just the money flow hasn't, the global money flow hasn't really, they haven't turned that printer on. But it's coming. It is coming. So
I think they printed a lot today in the last couple days. Also.
Yeah, it was 50 billion over the last couple of days. I've been looking up data, and sort of following a few other names in the crypto space outside of PulseChain, and officially in the background, quietly, the US Fed is already starting their QE and printing.
I think it's kind of funny, like when you have a large amount of your like wealth stored in assets, and especially scarce assets that appreciate with the printing of value or of like fiat, you actually kind of get excited when it's like max inflation, but it's actually horrible for everyone else.
Yeah,
it's completely diluting all their buying power. But if you're the thing that all that value actually flows into, it literally just pushes assets up even further. Especially fractionalized assets like crypto.
Yeah, totally. Well, you realize after I've been in this crypto space now for longer than 5 years, 6 years, you eventually realize that that's actually how it all works in the background, and there'll be so many KOLs out there that start throwing out bits and pieces that tell you otherwise. But if you actually just can find the real raw data in the background and then just work off that, then that's what it is. So, yeah, man, it's we're just waiting for those things to happen. Can't do anything else, but keep stacking if you can. Try not to sell yourself out with the waiting of time, and keep grinding. Like, bringing on board these no-coiners, the few that I'm speaking to, that I'm getting into now, into Pulse and into PTGC and UFO, it's actually taken my attention away from staring at charts and looking at everything every day in my portfolio, which is great, and spending more time on that, and then obviously my real world, 9 to 5 and everything else, family and stuff. But it's taken me away from the charts and looking at all of that stuff daily, which is nice. So, yeah.
Yeah, I think that's just like the best point to bring up is the entire market. There's not much we can do, right? Like the market's going to do what it does. But as far as like what we can do to benefit PTGC as a specific protocol, there's tons of hard work we can put in right now that's going to make a world of a difference when that market actually turns in our favor. Even if it's not like directly noticeable right at this moment or day in, day out, but like if we, I think the easiest example is if 1,000 of we have 16,000 wallets that hold PTGC, that we have 3,000 stakers. If just 1,000 of us all worked on bringing $5,000 in, that's $5 million. $5 million to PTGC right now we would do it 10x over PulseChain before the market even shifts. Like that would be amazing. Yeah, because just imagine anything PulseChain does from there, we're up 10x more. If PulseChain does a 30x, and that's only $5 million. That's it. If PulseChain did a 30x, we're talking about a 30x earlier. We're up 300x in PTGC. And then the crazy part is the person you're onboarding is up 300x. Like the IRL guy, I have a buddy who onboarded his landscaper, and then his landscaper onboarded his brother, and then the landscaper then onboarded his brother-in-law. So that's 3 onboards from just one. And I don't think it was crazy amounts, right? It added up to like $8,000, but that one guy already fulfilled his 5K times a little extra. And imagine those people, in real life people, these are no coiners. They're not trading. They're not hopping to the next token. They are literally strong community members that know endless amounts of more in real life people have the possibility of being up 300x very easily. We just have to wait for a couple of these pieces to fall into place. But there's tons of work we can do in the meantime that makes the world of a difference for our own community and also the people we're onboarding as well.
Yeah, man, for sure. Activity creates activity. And it doesn't matter what you're working on, even if it's the smallest of onboards, it can lead to the next one for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Josh T asks a question on YouTube. He says, "Good evening. I have a question. What problem does PTGC aim to solve in the real world or the digital economy?" Store of value, right?
Yeah. So in the real world, I'll kind of explain the problem I ran into in the real world. And this is, I guess, what I was trying to solve with even getting into crypto and, or, being part of designing PTGC. I have a successful business and work every single day or run every single day. And about 5 years into the business, I got the business to a size that I was happy with. I didn't really want to take on any more employees. I didn't want to get a bigger building. I didn't want to get more equipment. So I was happy and content with the size that I created. And I started wanting to take the value that I was making in the business as far as profit and investing it. Just put ways that didn't create more work for me as a business owner. I didn't want more employees. I still don't want more employees. I didn't want a bigger building, etc. I didn't want to take on more work. And what I found was, a lot of investing is not that profitable. Starting businesses is pretty profitable, and like startups are pretty profitable. But as far as like diversified investing with your bank or even investing in property, like what are you getting out of that yearly? A lot of the gains, let's say, is 10%. Well, if you look at a standard investment portfolio, like I'll say mine's up like 50% in the last 5 years, like 10% a year. On paper, that sounds okay. But inflation is 8% in the last year. The buying power that your dollar is worth in the last year is 50% like ruined. So technically, you didn't make anything. All you did was protect yourself against the inflation, against the devalue of the fiat. This is just the United States. So that cryptocurrency, and for obviously a little bit more risk on investing for more reward, because investing more traditionally is just a hedge against inflation or devaluation of fiat. And Bitcoin's, great. It's done great. Ethereum's great. But I also wanted to go a little bit deeper into decentralized finance, obviously a little bit more reward, for a little bit of risk. And what I found is pretty much everything out there, a great example is today with Balancer, is junk, right? There's a ton of middlemen. There's a ton of risk involved for no apparent reason whatsoever. Pretty much a lot of it's just gambling. So what I was trying to solve with PTGC was a store of value system that actually is value generating, that's scarce, that has built-in APY, and that also has self-custody. Pretty much all the boxes that everyone is looking to check, all just under one asset is the goal. So that kind of solves the problem in real life that I think a lot of people have with finance. You work your job and you want to save money to get ahead, and a lot of the places you can save money in are just trash, and you almost shouldn't even save it because it's just constantly getting devalued every single year by the printing of money. But if you have that value actually in assets that can appreciate faster, it is actually worth saving, and you can actually get ahead and you can actually start to become financially free. PTGC, with being remotely successful, with PulseChain being remotely successful, can actually set a large amount of people financially free, and they don't actually even have to sell their initial financially free. The system's designed in a way to where it generates revenue, and that revenue gets paid to the holders, and those holders can actually use that revenue to, pay bills and live life, etc.
Thank you for
Does that
answering that
answer
question.
pretty well, Banana, or do you want to add anything to that?
Nope, that answered the question. Somebody, Hank Hill, commented. He said, actually, it solves the problem of poverty. Kay Hudson commented. He said, one problem is there's not enough millionaires and billionaires. PTGC and UFO will remedy this, in my humble opinion. That's funny.
What they say? I didn't hear that.
He says-
broke up a little bit.
He says there's not enough millionaires and billionaires, but PTGC and UFO are going to solve that.
Yeah, crypto's been printing tons of millionaires,
Yeah.
for the last 10 years. I think with what we have foundation-wise on PulseChain, we need very, very little amount of value to actually flow into PulseChain to, on paper, make tons of millionaires within PulseChain. Obviously, PulseChain has very little liquidity, so it's not like everyone can just cash out millions and leave, because that would just put the price right back to where it was. But if on chain there's actual places to where you have complete self-custody and you can put your value to work for you and earn an APY off of your investment total, that's mainly what people are looking for, just with security and safety and sustainability. A lot of people don't actually need those millions of dollars right then. They just want they want to have millions of dollars in investments that's paying, right?
Yep.
PTGC and UFO is the solution to this. You can keep tons of value on chain, have it all 100% self-custody, and have that value working for you, and it pays you at any time you need. You don't have to wait for something to come out. You can literally claim and access that value in a very large liquidity web. Obviously, in the future, it's going to be a lot larger than it is today. It's like 10 million today. Just a 10x on PulseChain creates $100 million liquidity web. That's bigger than most of the largest assets on Ethereum. And so there's plenty of liquidity, and all that value that you're getting paid is from real value generation. It's not from inflation. It's not from just giving you tokens from a supply that's sitting in a different wallet. It comes from an actual revenue generation system that is making money off of a service that it's providing to the blockchain. And this is what everyone's looking for, right? Like, yeah, I think on PulseChain, people want to take out $1 million and then go put it in a diversified bank portfolio or whatever, like I just discussed. But like I said, that's just going to give you 10% a year, and inflation's technically at 10% a year anyways, even though they say it's less. But just look at what something's worth today and look what it's worth 5 years ago. It's devalued by 50%, or and technically what you're purchasing is 50% less. So you're losing that same amount of value. So yeah, it's good to get some of it out and elsewhere. You never know what's going to happen, but it's not the solution to the real problem. The real solution is keeping that value actually in the assets that they're going to appreciate faster than the inflation, and then just making sure that value is in safe and secure places that are actually put to work and generating more revenue, to where you actually don't need to tap into those investments to live your life successfully and fruitfully.
Nice.
Because like, look at it. If someone put in $20,000 into PTGC today, and let's say PTGC did a 10x and PulseChain did a 10x, you're sitting on now $2 million. Let's say APY is at 5%. You're now earning $100,000 a year in passive income. You don't even need to touch your initial to actually access that $100,000 a year. Well, now since you're not touching that initial, let's say PTGC just does a simple 2x in the following year. Well, now you have $4 million and your APY is now $200,000 a year. Let's say the next year goes by and you do another simple little 2x. Well, now you have $8 million. And what your passive income is the following year now goes up to $400,000, because you're still just getting that 5%, because everything is growing. And the asset that you're holding, that $8 million in, sounds like a lot, but you have 100% self-custody of that asset. It's got, at that point, possibly multiple hundreds of millions of dollars liquidity, and it's in a hyper-deflationary asset. So the asset's actually becoming scarcer and scarcer and scarcer every single day. It's not in systems that have inflation to where people are, let's say, mining more of the supply just to keep the network up, and to pay for mining that supply, they have to sell that down to that then hurts the price. This is Bitcoin, right? Like there is an inflation to Bitcoin. I get that it's out of the total supply, but the people who are getting that, who are mining, they don't actually need to own Bitcoin to mine. They actually had to buy a whole separate other product, and to even break even, they have to sell Bitcoin to do so. Within PTGC, your miner is actually the asset itself. So the only way that you can actually get more PTGC, which comes out of the deflationary supply, is by buying it off the market to even get it, which then pushes the price up for everyone else, which makes it even more sustainable. Think about the amount of money that's been spent on mining hardware and electricity in the last 10 years for Bitcoin. Billions of dollars.
Yeah. I want to remind everybody that I'm looking for influencers that are coming over to PulseChain, like KOLs, people that have followers with lots of engagement. When they come over to PulseChain, please let me know. You can DM me and just, you can send me an image. You can send me a link to their Twitter or their YouTube. I want to reach out to these people, befriend them, get them into the Grays ecosystem, because everybody over on PulseChain should hear about PTGC and UFO because they're an index of everything, of all the best tickers on the chain. So everybody should start here. So I'm going to start by reaching out to these KOLs, but I don't come across all of them. If you guys come across some, if you see one on Twitter and suddenly he shows up and he's all abuzz about PulseChain, send me a link, man. I want to reach out. And vote on PLS Folio every day too, by the way, guys. And Zen, do you want to talk about like rating other people's people that are outside of PulseChain? Do you want to talk about rating their Twitter accounts and how we should perhaps go about doing that?
Yeah, sure. And it doesn't just have to go outside of PulseChain. I think there's plenty of people that we can rate even within PulseChain. But I think it is important to show if it's a person inside PulseChain or even if it's a person outside of PulseChain, how active this community actually is. And it's not always just about the person who you're rating, but also paying attention to the people who are looking at that account. So, you know, a big one that you brought up is like the new influencers that are kind of popping on the PulseChain random, saying, hey, I'm thinking about coming on here. A lot of people think that they're just engagement farming, right? This is most likely what a large majority of these people are doing. Most likely they're not even buying assets. But what is important about it is the fact that when they come on and they get a lot, algorithm is pushing them to all of the PulseChain people. Literally, you can go to anyone's feed. They're showing up on it because they're the most trending person in PulseChain at the moment. They're brand new, so the algorithm will push them. So even if that person is a bot account, you know, they paid for an account and they're just getting engagement, you can still put up a good PTGC post, or our community can put up good PTGC posts on these trending accounts, because it's not so much always about the person that created the post, but the hundreds of thousands of people that look at the comments after that post is made.
Exactly. Yep. That's exactly right. And if you make a well-formulated answer to their post and the algorithm likes it and people like it, like they give it hearts and they reply to it and that sort of thing, it will boost your post it'll push your post toward the top of all the other posts. And what does that do? It draws the person that made the post. It draws their attention to your post, and everybody that makes a comment also, it draws their attention to your post also. And it can help garner you more followers on your Twitter account to broaden your influence also. But the key there is making a well thought out reply. And one thing that you can do, and I haven't actually done this yet, but you can leverage AI. There's Grok right there on our Twitter accounts. What you can do, I think you can probably just screenshot a post. And if you don't know what to say, screenshot it, pop it into either ChatGPT or Grok, and give it a well thought out prompt. You know, help me create a well thought out, wise, intelligent sounding answer to this post. And you can leverage AI to give you a post response that will help boost the algorithm in your favor. Does anybody else care to come up and chat? Polygon says Zen was giving him that dopamine fix again. Yep, that's true. How many people we got in here? We got 29 people on YouTube and quite a few on Twitter. Zen, you there? You're muted.
Yeah, sorry. I'm trying to find my son something to drink. He was jumping and fell.
Oh, poor guy. Yeah, we got about 35 people on Spaces. Well, we've been going for 90 minutes, over 90 minutes. Is it time to call it a night? Or is there anything else we need to talk about?
I think we've covered everything. If anyone has any questions they want to go over, I'm happy to do that. But if me and you are just talking, it is a Monday, so I'm open to shut. If you're all caught up on YouTube and no one wants to come up.
Yeah, I'm caught up on YouTube. You and I are going to stream on Friday, guys. We'll be streaming on my channel, and we're going to go over the monthly data for October, which is always fun. And I'll have some new slides for us. And hopefully the market picks up again, between now and then. That would make things a little more exciting. We shall see.
Yeah, definitely. Let's hope by then that we're moving up. And let's hope in general PulseChain starts moving up and we start making our way in the right direction here.
It seems like, if you look at the last two winters, okay, this is just Prairie Banana TA right here. The last two winters, PTGC has really rather crushed it if you look at the chart. So that could happen again this winter. We'll see. But the good news is, as long as the volume is great right now, I think we have $90,000 in volume on PTGC. And the price is low, that just means we're all stacking up rewards, man. That much more. It's wonderful.
Yeah, every single day we're making our way in direction, one step at a time. Every single day we wake up and there's more APY in our wallets, there's more LP to the protocol, and there's more tokens bought and burnt out of the market. If it takes another 1 month, that much closer to our goal. You know what I mean? We have more LP, we have less supply, we have more holders. If it takes another 2 months, same thing. Even if it takes 6 months, that's the nice thing about this. A lot of others is a lot of protocols. They're not in really a better spot 6 months later. But with this system, we have so many features going on. We are actually in a lot better places 6 months down the line. Even in the last 6 months, I look at where we are today compared to where we were 6 months ago. And I know if we move now compared to if we moved 6 months ago, our gain is that much more sustainable because we've bought and burned that much more tokens. We've added that LP, and we've actually gotten that much more better distribution as well.
Amazing. Yeah, the token distribution is impressive. We'll see some of that in the slides on Friday. Yeah, man.
Right now we're focusing so heavily on the in real life onboarding. And if we keep pushing at that and keep doing our thing, there's only two things that's going to equal. That's going to equal our price moving up even without PulseChain, with or without PulseChain. And even if our price doesn't move up, it's going to equal a better distributed asset, which is very, very important for sustainability in the future. I think we are already very distributed. We've spent the last 2 years distributing,
Mhm.
where a lot of assets have only been out for 6 months or whatever. But every single month that goes by, if we spend a lot of time in real life onboarding right now, I think we'll even become better distributed,
Man.
with or without performance. Yeah, it's massive, right? The fact that we've had 2.5 years to just distribute this supply among so many hands is just great for the future success of the protocol.
Yep. Just wait until we're going down into the next bear. Can you imagine the distribution then after going up in this up cycle? It's gonna be
I was
good.
thinking about the other day, 2 years from now, doubling its lifespan of being out. Where is distribution going to be? Where's the bought and burn supply going to be? Where's the LP going to be? We're still in such the beginning stages of a protocol like this. It's still so early compared to where it could be with or without a push on PulseChain.
Of course. Yeah. That's absolutely. Especially because the chain we're on hasn't done much of anything yet. So yeah, man.
Cool, guys. Well, I'm going to shut it down.
Sounds good, Zen. Well, spaces again on Saturday, just like usual, guys.
All right, guys. See ya.
See you, Zen. Thanks for coming. See you, everybody. All right. Another one in the books, ladies and gentlemen. How about that? I want to see how my viewers drop off. We're at 26 right now. So there was some good stuff in that. I thought. I know you guys thought too. You guys just can't talk to me. I'm the only one in the room that can talk. It's so weird. Yeah, it's good spaces. The market's rough, but my optimism is up. I just feel like I'm delusional. Do you ever feel like that's the word? Feel like I'm delusional. All right, guys, let's go get some rest. If you're in the States, it's time to go to bed. We'll see y'all later. Have a good week.